a.m. as the sun comes up. And of course, the only natural and normal thing for me to want to do, or the obvious natural and normal thing for me to do, rather, is to make a video explaining that to you. I don't know. I've been awake for probably since 5 a.m. A little before. I have my cup of organic coffee in my hand. I do recommend to people that if you don't need to go organic on everything you do, but try to do organic and free range on meat if you can, and on coffee, grapes, and anything with a semi permeable skin. I tell people that, like, when they ask me, and you're not asking per se, but you're on my YouTube channel, and since I have you here, I'm going to tell you really good advice right now. You don't have to buy everything organic. They have found that most coconuts and avocados have the same amount of pesticides without being organic as the organic, meaning that they're just so free of pesticides already. There's not really many issues there. Yeah, coconuts, and then look up avocados. Most avocados are naturally they don't use pesticides usually. Now, besides that, you peel the skin off. I could be wrong about the avocados. Go look it up. But what I read was that anything, so in Asia, there was a guy who was visiting Asia. And this is where I got I had read an article about grapes. Like, if you're going to buy organic food, you don't have to, if you only have so much organic spending power, use it on grapes and coffee and stuff like that. But you don't have to use it on oranges and grapefruit or things that have a peelable skin. But here's a story from Asia that made me really think that I'm on the right track with this one, or onto something. I'm onto something here. Rather, let me say it that way. Um, it was a story where someone was in Asia and they ate an apple and they got sick. And the people were like, yeah, because we use pesticides. Like, we always peel the apples here. And I was like, because that's the reason why what I'm saying. It's the same idea. And they live a long time. They tend to live a long time. I'm just saying, like, if you get something that is not organic, all you have to do is peel it. That's pretty much the trick. So if it's not organic, if it's an orange or it's a grape, you could just peel it. Just peel the skin off. If it's an apple, if you didn't get an organic apple, just peel the skin off. Um, so anyway, I think potatoes are one of those crops where they say it should be organic because potatoes like absorb everything and they absorb this stuff in the soil. And there's something about, like, when you eat potatoes, like, so maybe potatoes too, I'm not sure. But maybe if you peel them, but I don't know. Is it okay if you peel a potato, or because it's already submerged in the ground? Does that sort of like nullify the peeling effect? I don't know the answer. Um, as with all things, consult your own inner team of spirit guides and animal hosts and see what they say and what they advise you in terms of dietary recommendations. If you don't already have an overseeing body of religious people who tell you what to eat. Anyways, just kidding. Haha. um, oh, where was I going with this? Okay, so I was crying about my mother, and I wanted of course, as I sit here alone in the dark, I am crying over my mother into my coffee. The only logical thing to do is to go live and to talk about it. I walked out this morning and I threw my curtains open and I looked out across the desert and I said, what have they done to you? You are just full of dirt and bacteria and biological plant matter. You are just a mess. No, I'm just kidding. It actually looks good. I was joking. Have you ever noticed that when you look at nature, no matter where you look, you're gonna see, like, there's like, just look at any random patch of nature and you're gonna see like leaves and twigs like kind of just sitting there askew, but they're gonna look just right. then look at another patch and look for like random stuff, right? And you're going to see that there's like random stuff laying around everywhere in nature, all over in a random pattern that just got there somehow on its own, the wind or whatever, and many other things. And you're going to look at that and you'll notice, if you're like me, you'll be like, why does it look so perfect and symmetrical and artistic and yet different everywhere I look? And then, but somehow like it's been arranged. You know what I mean? Like somebody arranged it. Has anyone else noticed that when they look at nature, that it looks like it's been arranged? No, like art, kind of like. Sometimes that's why I wonder. Like I do still do art. Okay, I still paint. I still write poetry. I still play the piano, even. You know. But I got the first cold I've had in 10 years. And I'm actually pretty much over now, but good thoughts will bring the residual up. So, no matter where you look, nature looks like it's just arranged perfectly. What do teams of fairies like work 24/7 nonstop, arranging and arranging and arranging and arranging and arranging, so that every time you look somewhere, it just randomly looks like, what art? This is some kind of joke. Looks like some sort of artist got in here and tried to make it. Let's go for the chaotic but cute look this morning, but they do it all the time. I don't know. My mom. She's one of these people where she died recently. She's one of these people where I went into a restaurant in Desert Hot Springs, a little place called South of the Border. And it's a restaurant that my mother and the teachers in Desert Hot Springs, California would go to after work, at least on Friday. Maybe sometimes on other occasions, but at least usually once a week. And Fernando is the guy who owns it. And by the way, he and his brother own dueling restaurants in Desert Hot Springs, California, a town that is mysteriously situated between 3 triangular rivers that run underground, according to legend. And there's a different energy there. Let me tell you, it is like you are in a strange. People, when they talk about spiritual vortexes, they're always like, oh, Joshua Tree. Oh, Morongo Valley has a little one. Or, oh, go out to here, go there. Go up to this rock area where this guy blew up a rock or whatever years ago in the 50s or something. But like, what they never focus on is the fucking weird ass. And Palm Springs. Oh, Hollywood. Desert Hot Springs, California. Now, I just said it wrong. I want to say it right for you. Not the right way, but closer in the range of right. Desert Hot Springs. Hot Springs. You don't pronounce the T. The original, like the people who know the OG of Desert Hot Springs know that you're not supposed to pronounce the T in the hot springs. You can pronounce the T in desert. Desert Hot Springs. HOS. Desert Hot Springs. That's just how you say it. Now, there's a range of ways you can say Desert Hot Springs. It's sort of like saying breakfast instead of breakfast. Desert Hot Springs. One of my friends years ago moved back, and he tried to revive all the old friends in the whole area back. And it was like, if he had only done it a few years later, I would have been, or if he wants to do it again and he's listening psychically right now, like I will totally be on board now. But at the time, I was just not ready for the Desert Hot Springs to get revived, but now I feel like I am. I'm going to tell you something. Desert Hot Springs is one of like the little known, I've traveled throughout. Okay, the only places I really haven't gone that much, I've been to Pennsylvania, but like, so I've traveled through the edge of New York or whatever, but because of the airport being there. But like, I haven't done like extensive East Coast travel. Like I've never been to Florida, but the Midwest, the middle, and the, stuff like that I've spent a lot of time in. and I've spent a bit of time in the summer in Pennsylvania. My feeling is that Desert Hot Springs is definitely got a weird vibe. It's like, let me explain something to you. It's like, no, I don't care what happens in this world until the earth is blown up entirely. There's something about it that seems not able to age. Isn't that weird? It has this weird, like, it doesn't have an age. It has like a weird alternate dimension vibe. The whole town. It's a strange place. I'm going to tell you a couple weird stories about it that if I told you them, you may not believe me. I don't know what would happen though if you didn't. I'm just kidding. The ghosts will come for you if you don't believe me. So one thing is, oh yeah, there's special homes for Hasidic children out there that I've known a lot of people who've worked at them, and with a lot of whenever so you've got a strange energy vortex. So whenever you have a lot of disabled people gathered together in one place, in a place with a weird energy vortex, those are places that you may want, those in historical sites, burnt down old mansions. So there's a lot of like really interesting stuff out there. So basically it's a fucking strange place. Okay, so I was telling ghost stories one time in Desert Hot Springs, and a couple of my friends kind of like, at the end of it, they seemed pretty reverent during the ghost stories, but they went to walk home. So it was a walkable distance, and they kind of got, I guess they got a little bit of that ha. Well, I won't even say they didn't really do it that much in front of me, but so they left and went to walk home. And a few minutes later, I went in the bathroom, went to brush my teeth. And as I was looking in the mirror, I heard this like horrible screaming. And I literally thought to myself, like, if I had several thoughts go through my head of what could have happened. And I didn't end up going out there. I could explain it to you, but it just seems like kind of boring to explain to you my thought process at that moment. It's not to me, but to go through the tedious process of explaining it. Needless to say, the following day, I walked over to my friend's house. It was my friend Marlon, who was a devout, Jehovah's Witness, raised with his grandmother, and he would not, I don't know if he's devout now, but he would not, he's never been known for lying even once. And then that's Marlon. And then my friend Mike, he's never been known as a pathological or any kind of liar either, but he could have pranked. So what happened was the following day I went to Mike's house. And Mike and Marlon were like cuddled up in Mike's room together, like hiding in there, not cuddled. And like holed up, I should say. They were holding each other, screaming. No, they weren't. They were just like holed up in the room. And so I walk in the house because everybody would just let me, like, I knew all the people who rented rooms in that house, and I was like friends with them. So there was like a general rule, like I might tap on the door before I walked in, but generally speaking, I'd been going there for my Dungeons and Dragons games, and all my friends lived in different rooms. And the rule really was with me was that if I showed up, I was actually allowed to walk in and go get a drink of water or whatever. But of course, I would never walk into anyone's bedroom. So the bedrooms were off limits, but the house itself was, I knew the people so well that it was like, they would want me to go in and get a glass of water and sit down and wait for someone to show up or whatever. Or just even get one and leave if I had to. Right. So like, I ended up moving into one of the bedrooms later on, actually. I ended up renting one of the rooms, but at that point, someone else had that room. It was actually a nice 3-bedroom house in terms of like structure, layout, and everything. The neighborhood wasn't bad. But it really looked like a bachelor joint, man. Like when I moved in, I got in there with the living room. We never used the living room. And all the times that I would play Dungeons and Dragons at that house, we would use the kitchen and the dining room because there's a big old table in the dining room and the fridge was right there. we would just the living room was like a decorative thing that we walked past and no one hung out there. So when I moved in, I would like steam clean the F. I was like, put some flowers on a wall or something. I don't know what I did. I don't think I put flowers on the wall. That was just made up. I think I moved the coffee table a few inches out from the couch because I think it may have been pushed up against furniture or something. Just nobody went there. It was just a place that nobody went. I know it sounds terrible, but the lighting was good in the dining room, and it was like our hangout spot. The living room was like is like an off the, you know. But so Desert Hot Springs. Another thing. So these guys, I walk in the main house. I knock on the back door. They're holed up in the room. Mike and Marlon come out, and they come out with two things: a silver bullet and a cross, a crucifix. And they made me hold both of them. And I thought they were fucking joking. I thought that this was a prank, like a really, really well done prank, because they weren't breaking character and they weren't laughing. Some 20 years later, I don't think at any point has Mike ever withdrawn the story. It's been longer than that, but the last I checked was 20 years later. He didn't withdraw the story. About how long ago did this happen? Gosh, what year did this happen? 1992, maybe? 91 or 92. Straight up, this is what they said. First of all, they made me hold a crucifix and a silver bullet because they thought that I was. Mike said he had to verify that I wasn't a werewolf. I was like keeping a straight face, but I was like, these guys are joking. But then another part of me was just mutely just paying attention. But another part of me was like, no, they're joking. So, you have different reactions on the inside. But so then finally, after I touched these items and Mike felt that he verified, I don't know if he made me say a couple of words. He did interview me before he let me in. And then then they told me what happened that night after they left. So we had been at my dad's house, and we were sitting. The backyard went up against this little courtyard area, went up against the desert in an area where you're really close to the neighborhoods, but you're about 2 blocks out from the regular lights. So it's kind of like you can see the stars and everything. And we were sitting at this round table outside on the patio, and just with this like low wrought iron fence that just separated us from like vast miles of desert and stuff like that on one side, and a town on the other. And so I was telling them all kinds of ghost stories, and I was like, then they got up and they left. And what they told me happened is, as they were walking away, they had to get through that it's equivalent to a 2-block stretch to get to the first lamp, the first street light. And so they had to walk through that bit of desert, and they were kind of giggling and both saying they weren't scared. They didn't believe my story, kind of like trying to act like they didn't really believe it. They weren't scared. And then they started to actually see a black figure in the bushes that they said the way that it was moving looked so intelligent that they started to get scared, because they could see as they were giggling, they could see this black figure and they could hear little sounds, right? But they said the figure was leaping from behind like a bush and then getting behind another bush with such a strange type of intelligence that they felt like they were being purposefully watched by an intelligent being that was making noises on purpose, and they started to get scared. And as they approached the corner where the street light was before you get to the neighborhood with the other houses, this creature jumped into the middle of the road in front of them. And Mike said you could hear, and Marlon too, that when its claws hit the pavement, you could hear clang, clang, clang. Like that was the thing that stood out, like was the way the claws sounded when it landed. They said its eyes were red. It had a huge black body, and they couldn't identify. They said it looked a bit like a bear and a bit like a dog, but it was too big to be a dog. And it had sharp teeth and a mouth more like a dog. And so, and so it looked at them, and then it gosh, what time is it right now? Okay. It looked at them, and then it, just like it, with one jump, it bounded into the street. With one jump, it bounded back into the bushes. That's when they screamed, and when it jumped in front of them is when I had heard that loud screaming. And then when it jumped out of the road, they said they ran home, and the whole way home they thought they heard this, they heard that, they heard the other, and then they hid in the bedroom the whole night, and they could hear little sounds and shit like that. Isn't that crazy? Like on the roof and stuff the whole night. Then they thought it was me and that I had shapeshifted and heard them making fun.